Poltergeists are usually associated with an individual. Hauntings seem to be connected with an area. A house, usually.
Poltergeist disturbances are fairly short duration, perhaps a couple of months. Hauntings can go on for years.
Broadcasting live from the dark and cold dungeons deep beneath the KLAV studios in Las Vegas, Nevada. Prepare yourselves to be taken away into another dimension as we now have control over your thoughts, fears, and perspective of the unexplained world you dare not speak of. With your hosts, Lindsay Knight and Michael Knight. Ladies and gentlemen, we now open the gates to the paranormal and beyond.
Broadcasting live from the KLAV studios in Las Vegas, Nevada, this is the Paranormal and Beyond. According to Christianity, the rapture is an end-time event when born-again Christians will be caught up and literally lifted into the air to meet Christ in the sky. Many believe that this will happen unexpectedly, and in that moment, those who have repented would suddenly rise from their cars or wherever they stand. At some point after the rapture, it is believed that Christ will begin a 1,000-year reign of peace upon this planet. In a moment, author and playwright Jualt Christos will be sharing his stage play entitled The Rapture of Christos, based upon true events of his life, on which Jualt had received visions from God telling him that he is the resurrected Jesus Christ and had to tell that to the world. Jualt Christos and The Rapture of Christos will return right here on the Talk of Las Vegas, KLAV 1230 AM.
Your ticket to the unknown is at Knight's Paranormal Research Society.com. UFOs, ghosts, aliens, hauntings, mysterious places, and more can be found at Knight's Paranormal Research Society.com. Knights with a K, Paranormal Research Society.com. Based out of Las Vegas, Nevada, Knights Paranormal Research Society is owned and operated by the renowned brother and sister team of Michael and Lindsay Knight. Seeing is believing. And at Knight's Paranormal Research Society.com, you're going to believe. Join us every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 11 p.m. to midnight, for the Paranormal and Beyond. Join host Michael Knight and Lindsay Knight as they investigate the unexplained and most controversial mysteries of the world. The Paranormal and Beyond, where the paranormal lives on and conspiracies exposed. The Paranormal and Beyond, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 11 p.m. to midnight. Brought to you by Knight's Paranormal Research Society.com.
Just because you've seen it in the news doesn't mean it's real.
So you're telling me you got physically attacked by a ghost?
Like, I can tell you right now, I believe in the paranormal more than I believe in our government.
There are so many mysteries out there that are still yet to be explained.
You folks have some of your facts wrong, and you just keep talking about generalities.
With all due respect, sir, you have not brought anything to the table to prove us wrong.
This is the Paranormal and Beyond, and it's your show. Call us at 731-1230. Here again, Michael Knight and Lindsay Knight.
Welcome back to another brand new edition of the Paranormal and Beyond. But first, be sure to check us out at Knight's Paranormal Research Society.com, where you can link up to past shows by simply clicking on that archive link above. That's Knight's Paranormal Research Society.com. Ever want to be an actor or acting? Well, start by acting right now by logging on to HollywoodBoundActingAcademy.com. Once again, that's HollywoodBoundActingAcademy.com. Special shout out to all those listening online through the KLAV1230am.com website and all those driving around in the Vegas Valley listening to us on your stereos. I'm your host, Michael Knight, and alongside of me is your hostess, Lindsay Knight, your radio evangelist, preaching the gospel today and singing you a lullaby of truth, conspiracy, and paranormal in one package that you can take to your mama. How you doing, Lindsay?
Hello, hello.
Oh,
Excited for tonight's show.
It was. I felt like I was just here yesterday. Lawrence, our board op, welcome back, buddy. Yeah, we missed him. We missed him on this program. And Lindsay, how's your day today, by the way? Too much coffee, huh?
I'm tweaking right now. Tweaking big time.
All right.
You can only see me.
All right, standing by, we have Jualt Christos. We're going to talk about the rapture of Christos. But first, let's get into today's news.
Topping the news for the paranormal and beyond this Wednesday, November 6th, bringing you up-to-the-minute news on all strange and bizarre happenings around the globe. Talk about messing with the wrong people. In Hemet, California, a woman awoke to discover burglars attempting to steal the watch from her wrist. She said she actually scared them off with the tomahawk that was beside her bedside. Robin Irvine of Hemet, a tomahawk-throwing champion, said she woke up terrified Saturday morning when she felt someone attempting to take her watch from her wrist. I sat up and screamed at the top of my lungs, she said. Irvine said she grabbed a tomahawk she kept by her bed, and then the weapon frightened the two men into fleeing. I could have thrown it, put it right into his spine, but I couldn't do it. It's my training. I just couldn't do it. Police said one of the men, Nicholas Uolo, was found hiding in a nearby bush and arrested on a first-degree burglar charge. The other suspect is still on the loose. In other news, two British teens have sparked outrage after they dressed up for a Halloween contest as the Twin Towers during the 9/11 terrorist attack and actually won. The costume labels South Tower and North Tower featured explosives, flames, and people jumping from windows. The two teens also wore hats with American flag planted in a wreckage. The outrage has prompted the two teens to apologize for the actions, depicting it was a reminder of the horrors endured and not as a joke. Reporting the news for the paranormal and beyond, this is Lindsay Knight.
Okay, I heard other news where that lady dressed up as a Boston runner in a bombing.
That's right, I remember
incident.
that.
And she got a very big backlash on that, and people did not find that amusing. And the first story you spoke about, people better watch out when they break into homes or wherever. You never know what talent somebody's hiding. You know, there's stories where, you know, people break in, like in Las Vegas, and home invasions, and next thing you know, they think just because they're an older couple, they're going to get away with their TV and, you know, so forth. Next thing you know, they're getting shot by a Mossberg shotgun by a sure-shot old man.
Oh, yeah.
Who was a marksman in the United States Navy. All right, let's get into our main topic and introduce you to our special guest. Author and playwright Jualt Christos began to experience the blessings or bane of being touched by God, being given visions that had sound and picture and were mostly educational as a child. These visions from God later told Jualt that he was Christ and had to tell the world. Walter resisted this course of action, thinking that doing so would be detrimental, insane, but the visions continued nonetheless. Throughout childhood, Jualt won a contest of the Young Men's Christian Association's Indian Guides program that gave to him honorary membership, adoption into the Iroquois Confederation, which also resulted in being drafted as a shaman in the Native American tradition. Later, in a realm of weather modification or atmospheric manipulation, Walter was tested in 1981 and in 1982 by the physics discreditor James Randi, who agreed that if Walter could produce specified weather conditions in areas and times designated by James Randi himself, 4 out of 5 times that James Randi would agree that Walter displayed an ability to influence weather. Of Randi's 33 requests, Walter got 31. Walter later became known as a psychic via media as Jualt Christos, or as Jualt R. Christos, a name he has kept from some time being of his written material with metaphysics. There came a time when Jualt decided to pursue the course of action allegedly directed by God, and Jualt took notes of what occurred when he did so. These notes became book 1 of the Life of Christos series and formed the book came to the stage play known as The Rapture of Christos, on which is based on actual events of Jualt's life. The Paranormal and Beyond would like to welcome on the program Jualt Christos. How you doing, Jualt?
I'm doing okay, and thank you very much for having me.
Oh, it's always a pleasure to have you. You have a remarkable story. Let's go back as a child. As I read a bio, you started having these visions.
When I was 6,
Yeah,
I had gone to church, and as I said, I was 6 years old. And the choir came in, people would stand up. And when I stood up, I was hit by a bright white light, and the words said, "You are Christ," and I was knocked out. When I came to, I was laying outside on the ground. There was a circle of adults standing around me. And I looked up at them and I said, "Why me?" And they said, "Did you eat breakfast?" And for me, that's always been kind of funny, neither here nor there, because I didn't know that those two events could be related in that way. So that's when it started. And that was a singular event, something that happens and then you don't think anything about. And I was 6, I was a kid. But then thereafter, I started getting visions, okay? And what that would be like if you're looking at a wall, or if you're looking at an image, if you're sitting in a radio station, if you're sitting at home and you see paintings on the wall, there's a TV over there, there's chairs over here, all of a sudden, like a circular area of that wall would shimmer, and I would get to start watching a TV. In other words, I was not seeing it inside my head. At least it did not seem to me that I was seeing it inside my head. It looked to me like I would be watching a TV. And I would get to see pictures of times past, and then later on of potential futures. And there would be a voice that would explain to me, it would be like a narrator, okay? Except that I could ask questions and receive answers. So this was an interactive experience. It wasn't as if I was watching something that was pre-programmed. And I asked, at different times, who was sending this to me, all right? Who is the sender of this stuff, right? And the only answer I would get would be, "I am God." Right? So I happened to be in a unique situation in my childhood. I was somewhat at the top of the world in some ways, but I was also kind of isolated in others. I lived on an island. I had what might be described as an abusive situation. And so, for me, these visions in some way were comforting. They were nice. They were entertaining. They made me feel special, right? And it didn't impact my life. It added to my life. And it really wasn't a problem. Then later on, as I approached my teen years, they started coming back to say that I was Christ, and I had to tell that to the world. The vision said that I would have to be somewhat homeless, that I'd have to walk around among the people. One of the visions was I'd have to be barefoot in New York City. That's what I saw. And I was actually kind of horrified by that idea. And what I wanted was to go to college and to get a job and to have a normal life. Okay? And so I declined to do what I was being told or requested. The way I put it is it was requested, okay? But it was repeatedly requested. And I was told that if I didn't go forth, that the judgment upon humanity would be for Armageddon, that this civilization would be judged to be uncivilized, and that it would be reduced to rubble, so that we could start again and maybe do better next time. Okay? So initially, I suggested a compromise. I said, let me write a book, okay? And let that book go out among the people. And I figured, well, maybe I could live on income from the book. And the book would carry the messages that I had been told. And so then it would go out among the people and would do everything for me. And it seemed to me that God agreed to that compromise. And I guess I worked on that book, which I called Basic Earth Reality, for about 3 years, maybe 5 years. And during that time, I might have had one vision, okay? And then I finished the book, and I figured, oh, good, now I'm done, right? And I was walking down the street on Truman Avenue in Key West, Florida, where I lived at that time. And as I was walking by a big church, it was Mary, Star of the Sea, a big Catholic church on Truman Avenue, I was hit again with another big vision. It said basically that this was like my last chance to accept this path, and that things had not changed, and I had not done enough to nudge humanity away from destruction, and that unless I accepted this path, Armageddon would come. And I guess I saw like two fingers pushing two buttons and missiles coming, and I saw massive war. I saw dead bodies everywhere. What I saw was destruction. It wasn't good, right? And so then I agreed that I would go forth into the world and say I was Christos. This is another compromise. I said that Christ to me seems to be a title, okay? And it's not a name. And so I went with Jualt Christos, and I went into the world as Christos. And since then, I have kept notes, a lifetime of notes, of my interactions with the world as Christos. And in this way, I hope to give the people something to study. I also felt that simply saying that I am here is not really enough. I mean, I wanted to do something that would be of value, that could help people as individuals, as groups, as nations, something that everybody could learn from and to be of benefit to our world and to people in some way. Okay? And so that's what I've done. Now, the stage play, The Rapture of Christos, is based on that first 3-month period. And as you said, it's actual events. I went to a Catholic church. I asked 2 different priests. I said, am I being sinful or suicidal? And, you know, in a Catholic view, doing something suicidal is sinful as well. And I wanted to know if I was being sinful or suicidal by doing what I was doing at that point. You got to understand, too, that Key West is a small island. It's 2 miles by 4 miles. It's shaped like a peanut. And so I would walk the edge of that island. And as I walked the edge of the island, I was thinking that I was sending my spirit to circle the globe and to let sensitives, people in tune, know that I was here. I also, in Native American tradition, was perhaps living what's called a vision quest. Okay? And I was what might be called, in Native American tradition, gathering allies. Okay? And I met with beings. I met with gods, with angels. I would say I met with elves, ETs. I interacted with potential human futures. And I hit a realm that I would call a timeless realm. And the best way to describe that is that anybody in any place can connect to each other through a timeless realm. Right? It's sort of like if you pop your head through a sheet, and there are other people with their heads popped through that sheet, and they might be in a different time period. I connected with them. At any rate, when I went to the Catholic Church, there was two things that happened. One was one priest he told me that if there was a second coming, that it didn't concern Catholics because they'd been saved by the first one. And that I should sober up and get a bath, and just if I would go away, it would all be very nice. Okay, so I said fine. But that one sent me to a second priest. And I asked him if he knew anything about the ancient mysteries. Did he know the expectations of peoples through time? All the different little spots that I would have to touch and all that wonderful stuff. And what he said to me was that if I was doing God's will, then I was not in sin. And he also gave me what I called the gift of wonder, because he said he would leave his mind open to the possibility that it could be so. And what this resulted in was apparently he told his parishioners about me. Now, Key West is an island, and along the edge of that island is a road. And between the road and some places beach and some places sea is a sidewalk. So I would walk the sidewalk on the edge of that island. And people started to line that seawall, standing up in groups, or staying parked in their cars, and they would honk at me and wave as I circled the island. And it actually became kind of a big thing, and I was somewhat known. And for a while there, police cars sometimes every now and then would kind of follow me around. I thought that might be protective. And so it was wild. It's both serious and it's light. Okay? So there's a lot that I have done in my life now, but there's more that I have done with my life for later.
Walt, I got to ask you this. Were you very apprehensive prior to seeing your vision and being told what you were told to come out? What was the length of your wait before finally coming out and accepting it?
Well, I've got two answers. You can either count it from when I was 6 and I thought it was amusing, to when I was a teen and I said, no, I'm not going to do this. Thank you very much for thinking of me. And from when the compromise came, which must have been when I actually did go to college, to 3 years to 5 years when I wrote that book. Okay? And I was surprised when the vision came, because I had thought that I had a compromise where I would not have to go forth into the world. But I think essentially part of what I was doing was learning about the world, which was very important. When I first started out, I said I have slept long and studied poorly, meaning that other than telling people, look, I'm doing what God told me to do, and, I'm Jualt Christos, I really had nothing to relate to people, nothing but other than that. And to me, that's halfway hollow. All right? I also said that God would show people some truth to what I say. When I was in Key West, I had a lot of what I called bounce. And when I accepted myself as Christos, I became very, very energized. I felt electric. And bounce is when someone says something to you, and the energy from you then goes back and makes that thing occur. It's like a tennis ball. They hit something to you, and you hit it back. And I believe that since I was carrying so much energy, that it caused a lot of bounce. All right? There were different things that happened. I had a job working in a kitchen, and one of my tasks was to clean the kitchen floor. Okay? And there's a joke that, okay, here I am to save the world, and I started out by cleaning a floor. Okay? That was a solid floor and a tile floor, and when I scrubbed it, it warped. I mean, the whole floor warped. It became wavy. Okay? I was in a dance bar, and it had mirrors on two sides, and there was an incident in that bar. And I guess there were many incidents, but one was I was treated to some hate or to some scorn and ridicule that came my way. And the bounce was that the mirrors on all three sides all cracked. They were individual pieces rather than being one big mirror. Panels, I guess is what you would call them. So there were panels, and every single panel cracked. It was like lightning bolts in the glass. Okay? So there were what I would call physical manifestations. So one of the things I did was I renounced my Godhead. Okay? And I said I would try to go forth as a normal human being. Okay? And this didn't do anything to my being Christos or to what I could do as a normal human being. But it took those huge energies, let's say being God-like, off of my person. And part of the way that I did this was I asked God to let me do weather, which is traditional for a Native American shaman. All right? And so I started taking requests. And Key West, being a little island, barely above sea level, I think it has one hill that's 6 feet above sea level, is extremely concerned or aware of hurricanes, because one big wind could really sweep a lot away. And there were local psychics and scientists who, at that time, had gotten a lot of media attention saying that Key West would be wiped out. So I went to the local media, and I said that I would seek to use my abilities to protect Key West from the eye of a hurricane. And I also expanded my territory to what I called my primary area, and that is any place that I have been, so that I can accurately see that place in my own mind, in my memory of it, so that I can touch it within myself.
Walt.
And that, yes, sir.
Walt, we're going to take a quick break. We're at the bottom of the hour, but we're going to continue on with your testing of the weather modification when we turn right here on the Talk of Las Vegas, KLAV 1230 AM.
Don't go away. The Paranormal and Beyond continues in a moment. Join us at 731-1230. Your ticket to the unknown is at KnightsParanormalResearchSociety.com. UFOs, ghosts, aliens, hauntings, mysterious places, and more can be found at Knights Paranormal Research Society.com. Knights with a K, Paranormal Research Society.com. Based out of Las Vegas, Nevada, Knights Paranormal Research Society is owned and operated by the renowned brother and sister team of Michael and Lindsay Knight. Seeing is believing. And at Knights Paranormal Research Society.com, you're going to believe. Join us every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 11 p.m. to midnight, for the Paranormal and Beyond. Join host Michael Knight and Lindsay Knight as they investigate the unexplained and most controversial mysteries of the world. The Paranormal and Beyond, where the paranormal lives on and conspiracies exposed. The Paranormal and Beyond, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 11 p.m. to midnight. Brought to you by Knights Paranormal Research Society.com. Be a part of Paranormal and Beyond. Call us at 731-1230. Here again, Lindsay Knight and Michael Knight.
All right, welcome back to the program. If you're just tuning in to the Paranormal and Beyond, we are talking with Jualt Christos about the rapture of Christos. Remember, join us back here Friday as we're going to have Sander Mulder and talk about the biggest secret cover-up of mankind as we get into the Clementine conspiracy, aka Project Golden Dragon. All right, let's get back to Jualt. Jualt, are you there?
Yes, sir.
All right, now let's talk about the weather manipulation thing and get into James Randi. We all know this guy. This guy likes to throw monkey wrenches in everybody's lives.
Yeah, he really does in some ways. He's quite dedicated in an abrasive way. If you ever compare him to Iran's Khomeini, they're very similar in at least appearance. I wondered if it was the same person. Oh, God. He, at that time, offered a reward of $10,000 to anyone who could display a psychic or paranormal ability. Okay? And I thought, well, maybe influencing weather in some ways qualifies as psychic or paranormal ability, though some of what I do is done by others, which I mean is my allies. I make requests to them, and they do it. But they don't have to do what I say, and there are things I can do on my own as a human being. Okay? So, I also thought that Randy wanted to find a real psychic, that he had been unable to do so, and that he was sincere, that he really thought that all psychics were fakes, which means they're either frauds or criminal. Okay? And so I sent him a letter saying that I could influence weather. And I suggested to him that he give me, 4 or 5 requests, and that if I got, say, 1 out of 4 or something like that, that would show influence. And he got back to me, and he said that, anybody can influence weather. And I said, well, then people have this ability, right?
True.
Doesn't that contradict what you're saying? And so he said, no, it's a delusion. Everybody thinks they can influence weather, change traffic lights, and other stuff. And I was going, well, that was a new one, and again, something for me to think about. It might be useful. And so, long story short, he sent me 22 requests. I let him pick the place, the time, and the type of weather. I just asked for at least a 3-day lead because my influence has a 3-day range, okay? And I got all of his requests, okay? The Palm Beach Post newspaper a writer for that newspaper helped to set up this test. So we used the Miami Herald newspaper as the official results. The Miami Herald newspaper was not informed about the test. They knew nothing about it, which scientifically for an experiment is proper. That meant that what they reported would have nothing to do with this test. They would not be seeking to alter their reports either in favor of the results or against the results. They would just be reporting weather as they normally do. And we agreed to allow the Miami Herald weather reports to be the actual weather. Okay? That would be what was the official result. So he gave me 22 requests, and I got all 22. I sent him, he wanted, on my end, I was to send him the weather reports and the results when it was all done. And I did, and I thought he would be so happy to know that, I was so naive. I'd already started to experience his tone. His tone is very abrasive, very demeaning, very critical. And I figure he's using his will to try to interfere with the ability of any psychic he's testing. So he's testing more than just the existence of an ability. He's actually interfering with these tests in his own way to try to get that psychic to fail.
Well, to debunk him, basically.
Yeah, he's a debunker. And I got all 22 of his requests, and then I didn't hear from him.
And I take it you didn't even get the $10,000 he was offering.
No. But then our area sort of started to flood, and my friends got in touch with the newspaper and tried to get in touch with Randy, and the newspaper tried to get in touch with Randy. And after a period of time, I think 3 to 5 months, I'm not sure, okay, I'm not certain. But then he did get back in touch with me. And he said that he understood that I had failed his first test, though the results of that test can be found online. All right? And I did get all of his requests. But he said, well, I know you failed, but you did good enough that I'd be willing to give you another test. All right? And he explained to me that he had been busy because he was testing Uri Geller. All right? And so he had to put me off. Well, actually, all he really had to do in my book was to write me a check and go before the media, put his arm around my shoulder, and say, I found him. I really did think that the man would be happy to have found me. I really did. I thought that this is what he wanted to find. And so I have said that I am the only psychic that I know of who has passed his test. But truth could be that others might have also passed his test. And when that man says that all psychics are frauds or fakes, he knows better. All right? That man is lying. He's being slanderous, and he is hate-mongering. All right? He is, because he himself knows better. All right? So to some degree, what he's doing is a shame, and it's also shameful that media will give him attention anytime he burps. Okay? And through the years, whenever media has given him attention, the man was paid $275,000 by the John D. and Catherine MacArthur Foundation to thank him for the work he does in our world. All right? Now, I can see that maybe he does public service by helping to protect our world against fakes. But I think that he should also mention the fact that there are some genuine, sincere, good, decent human beings who are real psychics And I don't think being a psychic is an easy thing for people. People have to learn to cope with their own ability. They have to face derision. At any rate, that's how it went. He gave me another 11 requests, and I think I missed 2. Okay? I haven't gotten to that point in my typewritten notes, which I am in a process of making into digital or PDF versions, because I really, really, really need a competent literary agent or a reputable publisher. I have found myself rejected time and time again by those people. And as I said, right now I have The Rapture of Christos, which is a stage play based on Book 1. And it is available. You can find it online.
Walt, how much ridicule and negative feedback did you get once word came out that you were Christos? I'm sure you got a lot.
I've gotten a lot, and I've also had friends. It's a mixed bag, all right, in that I've been very fortunate to be competent, hardworking, decent, intelligent, compassionate, all the wonderful things that have allowed me to have value to people outside of work, so I've had friends, and at work, so that I have been valued as a worker. And I've tried to keep knowledge of my being as Christos outside of my jobs and outside of my world, all right, to some degree. I have been online as Walt for decades, and I did a metaphysics forum called A Forum with No Name, which at one point had 6,000 members, and that was for anyone involved in metaphysics. And so the worst that's ever happened, per se, was that there was a Christian protest at one of my workplaces where they're that's not a good thing.
Walt, do you have any metaphysical abilities by any chance, or is it just the visions that you see?
Well, I can influence weather. That's one thing. I have some radars, but mostly I am a projector of vibrations rather than a receiver of vibrations. I can influence for things to occur, but it is my preference to respect free will. In other words, I don't want to hurt people. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. See, it's great to hear you're very humble about this and stuff like that. And but I'm sure the ridicule with James himself trying to debunk you, I mean, how is people in Florida taking it?
Well, I think some of them were scared of me, and to some degree that could be protective. Remember, every year I issued a hurricane protection pledge to the media, saying I would protect the places I had been. And that was, say, from Daytona Beach or Ormond Beach along I-4 through Orlando to Tampa, St. Petersburg, and down that coast to Naples, and then across Alligator Alley to Fort Lauderdale, and then back up to Ormond Beach, and also Key West. All right? So that was a sizable area of land, and I did this for 30 years. Okay? The media reported my pledge, and for those 30 years, that area was protected. There are 2 exceptions in that 30-year period. All right? But other than those, that area was protected. I mean, I'd have Pat Robertson saying that, Orlando was sinful because Disney World was going to allow gays, so therefore everybody there would be destroyed. And whenever a hurricane or something came around, the man would leave. I mean, these people would just flee the area. But I stayed. And I think that in itself is something that psychics or scientists should have been willing to study. All right? I mean, I've wondered why they haven't tried to put me to better use. There have been time periods where I've been on talk radio around the country, okay? And I have offered to do things in those people's areas. I will tell you that I can touch any place on the globe.
Wow.
All right? But each place should have its own shaman. My joke is, have you hugged your shaman today? All right? And sometimes I think that when an area is having really bad things weather-wise or of nature, that perhaps that shaman is experiencing some bad times. And I don't want to reward the people who are hurting a shaman by doing something to cover that area. Okay? The shaman system is first low on a village level, where the shaman would sort of be on the outside of the village and live as a hermit. I live as a hermit. I am not seeking a group. That has been a government concern. I'm not seeking a group, okay? And when things are good for the shaman, then the weather is beneficial and the tribe gets what they need. And when things go bad for a shaman, then the weather can be bad. So either knowing who the shaman is or not knowing, in which case then it's all very natural, and the shaman is treated like people would treat anybody else. So if they inadvertently, in their normal way of life, are nice to this person, then good things happen. And if they, in their normal way of life, are nasty, then bad things happen. Okay? Then there's another level, which I call shamas, which is S-H-A-M-M-A-S, though some people only spell it with one M, and that's a Hebrew word. And the Hebrew belief is very much like the Buddhist belief, and it says that there are, at any time on the planet, 33 to 37 shamas. And these are the same way that you have one little shaman with one little village. If you start taking all the shaman here and there, and they become a village, and that village has a shamas. And so on the planet, there are 33 to 37 of these. And this is what in Christianity is referred to as the elect. Okay? So, I know I've digressed from wherever we were.
Well, I gotta ask you this. Okay, being Jualt Christos, what is the message here that at the end result? I mean, what are you trying to portray for people? Like, what do you want them to take with them?
I guess I've taken one thing from Jesus and one thing from Buddha. And I view them both as manifestations of Christos. I don't think that it was a solitary thing, and I view it as a reincarnation kind of thing. At any rate, from Jesus, it's do unto others as you would have others do unto you. All right? And from Buddhists, it's be concerned with your own spiritual improvement, the wellness of community, and the wellness of world. A lot of people focus on themselves and then forget about community or world, or they focus on community and forget about world and self, or focus on world and you know what I'm saying? It's all three have value. And I believe it matters. I believe in karma. I believe in dharma. And I believe that as people become more evolved, that they gain energies, and that we're coming to a point where the ability to be harmful, either scientifically or psychically, is going to become easier. And so therefore it is important just for humanity as a whole to care about these things. I would also say that maybe it's important to some to know that God cares, in my view.
I 100% agree with you in that whole aspect. I feel exactly the same way.
Yeah. I am no different as a human being in many ways than other people. The way I put it is I am special and unique, just like everyone else. Okay? We all have our aspects. We all have our limitations and flaws, and it's how we deal with them that counts, not that we have them. I don't believe in perfection as a final state. I believe that perfection is a process. I believe that perfect is not to be without flaws, which is how some people use it. And they say, you have to be perfect. If you're not perfect, you're not good. And that's not true. Everything has a mix. There's good and bad within all people, at least the potential, within all groups, within all things, within all groups of ETs. It's not like every ET is the same. It's not like every human is the same. It's like humans can have many nations, many agendas, many factions. So too can other groups.
Do you find it more, in your own opinion, that in the society that we're living today, that vanity has taken over? Pretty much people are more concerned about themselves than helping other people. They're self-absorbed. Not saying everybody, but I'm just saying there is,
I think that's part of the picture, but I'm not sure that that's a change. Okay?
Right.
I think that with some of the problems that individuals think are growing, that hopefully what could be growing is the awareness of their problem rather than the problem itself. And in an individual's growing awareness of a problem, there can become hope for solutions to that problem. That the problem that an individual perceives could be the one that they are supposed to focus on, okay? Either in themselves or in our world, because that is the one that they have been gifted with. And I use the word gifted with a sense of humor, okay? I do. I mean, and you can view it as a blessing or a bane, all right?
Well,
but it's yours.
Well,
yes, sir.
It's great for you to be on the show. I mean, it's a very inspiring, enlightening broadcast. By the way, where can producers and directors pick up your playwright, The Rapture of Christos?
It's available online. You can look for it by that name, or you can look for Jualt, Jualt. It's like one, but Jualt. And either way, you can find me.
You can find it at www.publishamerica.net. And it's product number 49501. I mean, it's very interesting. Very, very interesting. And it's just fascinating.
It's funny how time flies because I was really absorbed in listening to what you were saying. It was fascinating. It really was, Walt.
All right.
Thank you.
You're
welcome.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you, Paul, for being on the program. Remember, everybody out there, check back in here Friday at 11 as we talk about Project Golden Dragon, the Clementine Conspiracy. If you're not familiar with it, it's the biggest secret to mankind. So everybody stay safe out there. Enjoy your Thursday. See you back right here Friday, same time on the Paranormal Beyond. Good night, everybody. And singing you a lullaby of truth, conspiracy, and paranormal in one package that you can take to your mama. How you doing, Lindsay?
Hello.
Oh,
excited for tonight's show.
I felt like I was just here yesterday. Lawrence, our board op, welcome back, buddy. Yeah, we missed him. We missed him on this program. And Lindsay, how's your day today, by the way? Too much coffee, huh?
I'm tweaking right now. Tweaking big time.
All right.
You can only see me.
All right, standing by, we have Jualt Christos. We're going to talk about the rapture of Christos. But first, let's get into today's news.
Topping the news for the paranormal and beyond this Wednesday, November 6th, bringing you up-to-the-minute news on all strange and bizarre happenings around the globe. Talk about messing with the wrong people. In Hemet, California, a woman awoke to discover burglars attempting to steal the watch from her wrist. She said she actually scared them off with the tomahawk that was beside her bedside. Robin Irvine of Hemet, a tomahawk-throwing champion, said she woke up terrified Saturday morning when she felt someone attempting to take her watch from her wrist. I sat up and screamed at the top of my lungs, she said. Irvine said she grabbed a tomahawk she kept by her bed.
There are so many mysteries out there that are still yet to be explained.
You folks have some of your facts wrong, and you just keep talking about generalities.
With all due respect, sir, you have not brought anything to the table to prove us wrong.
This is the Paranormal and Beyond, and it's your show. Call us at 731-1230. Here again, Michael Knight and Lindsay Knight.
Welcome back to another brand new edition of the Paranormal and Beyond. But first, be sure to check us out at Knight's Paranormal Research Society.com, where you can link up to past shows by simply clicking on that archive link above. That's Knight's Paranormal Research Society.com. Ever want to be an actor or acting? Well, start by acting right now by logging on to HollywoodBoundActingAcademy.com. Once again, that's HollywoodBoundActingAcademy.com. Special shout out to all those listening online through the KLAV1230am.com website and all those driving around in the Vegas Valley listening to us on your stereos. I'm your host, Michael Knight, and alongside of me is your hostess, Lindsay Knight, your radio evangelist, preaching the gospel today.
Paranormal Research Society.com, based out of Las Vegas, Nevada. Knight's Paranormal Research Society is owned and operated by the renowned brother and sister team of Michael and Lindsay Knight. Seeing is believing. And at Knight's Paranormal Research Society.com, you're going to believe. Join us every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 11 p.m. to midnight, for the Paranormal and Beyond. Join host Michael Knight and Lindsay Knight as they investigate the unexplained and most controversial mysteries of the world. The Paranormal and Beyond, where the paranormal lives on and conspiracies exposed. The Paranormal and Beyond, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 11 p.m. to midnight. Brought to you by Knight's Paranormal Research Society.com.
Just because you've seen it in the news doesn't mean it's real.
So you're telling me you got physically attacked by a ghost?
Like I can tell you right now, I believe in the paranormal more than I believe in our government.
Normal and beyond. According to Christianity, the rapture is an end-time event when born-again Christians will be caught up and literally lifted into the air to meet Christ in the sky. Many believe that this will happen unexpectedly, and in that moment, those who have repented would suddenly rise from their cars or wherever they stand. At some point after the rapture, it is believed that Christ will begin a 1,000-year reign of peace upon this planet. In a moment, author and playwright Jualt Christos will be sharing his stage play entitled The Rapture of Christos, based upon true events of his life, on which Jualt had received visions from God telling him that he is the resurrected Jesus Christ and had to tell that to the world. Jualt Christos and The Rapture of Christos will return right here on the Talk of Las Vegas, KLAV 1230 AM.
Your ticket to the unknown is at Knight's Paranormal Research Society.com. UFOs, ghosts, aliens, hauntings. Mysterious places and more can be found at Knights Paranormal Research Society.com. Knights with a...
Poltergeists are usually associated with an individual. Hauntings seem to be connected with an area. A house, usually.
Poltergeist disturbances are fairly short duration, perhaps a couple of months. Hauntings can go on for years.
Broadcasting live from the dark and cold dungeons deep beneath the KLAV studios in Las Vegas, Nevada. Prepare yourselves to be taken away into another dimension as we now have control over your thoughts, fears, and perspective of the unexplained world you dare not speak of. With your hosts, Lindsay Knight and Michael Knight. Ladies and gentlemen, we now open the gates to the paranormal and beyond.
Broadcasting live from the KLAV studios in Las Vegas, Nevada, this is the Paranormal.